Okay, I am going to brew the next best sencha that we have at the shop. It's pretty cool. It is called Sencha Fuji Kaori. We just got that a few weeks ago. And the cool thing about this is it's a blend of two different cultivar, and one of them is the most common Japanese green tea, which is Yabukita. When we think about the most produced Japanese green tea, usually it's Yabukita Sencha. And the second one is Shizu 131, which is normally famous for being kind of floral and has like a unique, for me, it has like a unique cherry blossom kind of aroma and even the flavor. Trying to find a place to put this bowl, but it's not a good place. I'm just gonna put it, there you go. So let's give this a try. I tried this like a couple months ago, just a sample, and I really like it. So it's online. It's available online right now. Just from the smell, it's very sweet. I'm gonna put about, usually I put about 4 grams for a sencha, but it's kind of late, 6 o'clock here, so I'm just gonna put about 3 grams, maybe 2.5 grams. Can't find my scale, my favorite scale. I have this favorite scale that I always use. This is 175. I'm only gonna brew it halfway. If you're drinking it alone, the nice thing about using the Kyushu, if you're drinking it alone, I don't usually fill it up all the way unless if I'm in a hurry or unless if I want to take it with me. But normally, I actually only fill it up halfway. And by doing that, the flavor of the tea is going to come out faster. And I don't have to wait for like 2-3 minutes. Usually Japanese sencha, how long you brew it, it depends on the look of the leaf and whether it's a light steam or it's a deep steam or a medium steam. This one is a medium steam sencha. It looks like medium steam sencha, but I might have to check my documents, see whether or not it is medium steam, but definitely not a deep steam. The deep steam leaf usually tend to be a little bit more broken apart. So as you can see, the tea leaf is slightly more longer and almost like a stem. So that's usually either light steam or medium steam. I think it's medium steam just because there are some broken pieces a little bit more, and the color of it too, it doesn't look like a light steam. So I think that's about a little bit over a minute. So it looks strong. So I brewed this about a minute right now. A good sencha like this, it should have a very relaxing aftertaste. It should coat your tongue. It should have, the aroma should be very refreshing. Sometimes could smells like a refreshing, in this one is flower actually. It's like flower with vegetable at the same time. And you want to look for umami. A lot of Japanese tea, I think one of the number one most important thing is how umami the tea is. So for that reason, that's almost always kind of like the goal with a lot of Japanese tea. It's different with Chinese tea or Taiwanese tea. They don't even care about umami, and that terms is not even in the dictionary as far as like drinking Chinese tea or Taiwanese tea. But when it comes to Japanese tea, umami is kind of important. That's why you see my other video talking about Miyazaki Sencha, and I said that's like the most umami Japanese green tea I ever had. It's almost like drinking chicken vegetable broth. Check that out. That's some of the best Sencha. But the best just in terms, because usually when we think about Japanese tea, like gyokuro or like matcha, we talk about how umami it is. So talking about the umami, this one definitely has a good amount of umami, but because of there is other complexity, kind of like a sexy flavor, like some people say it tastes like wisteria flower. I'm not exactly know what this is wisteria. I never had it, but for me, it's more like slightly more like cherry blossom or like even a little bit orchid. It's definitely very complex. It doesn't. You can't really taste. Sometimes when the sencha is bad, I can taste the water, and when you brew it strong, all you got is actually just all you got is just like a earthy notes and like tannin. And usually this kind of sencha you can brew it for like 2 times. That's it. But that's normal for a sencha. You might be able to push it for the third time, but normally the flavor is just not that great anymore. So I'm just gonna brew this twice, especially it's kind of late. So you have to brew it right away. This is another thing about sencha. A lot of people when they drink sencha, they mess it up the beginning, and then they try to fix it on the second infusion, and they assume that that's how the tea should taste like or whatever. Like you can't really fix a sencha. So many times when I do tasting and I'm not paying attention, and I overbrew my tea by like 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and I drink the same sencha daily, right? And for some reason it just doesn't taste good, and if I don't do it right in the beginning, the next time you try to reuse the leaf because you didn't want to waste it, a lot of time it just doesn't taste good, and whoever I drink tea with, they're gonna just assume that tea is all right. It's not that good. So for that reason, make sure you really practice your sencha. Drinking, making tea like this is a lot of practice. Trying to pay attention, but another benefit is when you're drinking a good tea like this, it's like sencha like this, a light steam sencha like this, there's a little bit more flexibility. So if you're one of those that sometimes just overbrew your sencha, I recommend getting something like this, where like a lot of like our deep steam sencha, like our Kagoshima sencha, Asasuyu, our Sai Midori, that one's a little bit more critical. So if you're like just starting, definitely put a timer on. But I know already this sencha is not one of those sencha, so I'm a little bit easy even if I overbrew it. So I kind of like drinking this kind of tea just because it's so easy to make, and regardless how long you brew this tea, it's still gonna taste good. And you wanna make sure you smell the aroma of the liquid, and make sure that you have a clean teapot too. A lot of time, a light steam sencha like this or like medium steam sencha like this, it can pick up a lot of bad aroma of your teapot. So if your teapot is not cleaned properly, it's gonna start tasting really weird and stinky. So make sure you always clean your teapot, Japanese kyushu in this case, right away, because otherwise you could never enjoy this kind of sencha. So pay attention on that too. And another thing, you don't wanna wait too long for a sencha. A Chinese green tea, a lot of times you might be able to wait for like a couple hour. I wouldn't do like a couple hour, but if you keep it in a like nice tumbler, I think it will still taste good. But a lot of times sencha, it wouldn't taste as good. It tastes best when you just finish made it. This is why I don't recommend you making the full teapot for a sencha, just because a lot of time you wouldn't be able to finish it fast enough, and you won't be able to get the best flavor out of it. I will say within 20-30 minutes you should drink it before it cold. The flavor is huge different, the color is gonna change, and with the proper temperature you're going to be able to detect a lot more layer in the flavor, the complexity, like the umami that I was talking about. And if you still cannot get the flavor umami that I was talking about, make sure you just keep doing it and take your time. Let it kind of make sure it touches all your senses, but in your tongue. For me, it's more like on the back side of my tongue that can get that really unique umami notes. And a flower sencha like this, a lot of time it linger very very nice and smoothly, and it really balanced really well with the umami notes. So that's why I really enjoy this kind of sencha. I think if you love a lighter sencha, like kabusecha or kabusecha, um, even like some green oolong, if you enjoy that kind of flavor, then you're gonna enjoy this slightly floral but not overpower like the sizu itself. The sizu is famous for being kind of floral for Japanese tea. This is a blend of sizu and yabukita, and yabukita is kind of famous for having that classic Japanese green tea flavor. So whenever you go to like Japanese restaurant, like getting any Japanese green tea from a grocery store, almost usually, if it's a good quality one, usually they will be yabukita. That's just the most commonly produced. So this is a blend of both too, and you really can get that both flavor in this tea, which is kind of cool. Um, 175 is the temperature that I will suggest. It's so good. Like earlier, I was a little bit tired and sleepy, so drinking a sencha immediately just take you to the level that you feel kind of like comfortable, not overpowered like a lot of coffee. So that's basically two of these, then I'm good. I'm not very sensitive with caffeine, obviously. So if you're sensitive with caffeine, I don't recommend you drinking sencha this late. Right? What, 6 o'clock now? That's a little bit late for a lot of people, but for me, this is nothing. I still have a lot of things I need to do today. So even though it's a Sunday. Next, and you probably heard me slurping too. That's really gonna help you with getting the flavor out of this tea too. So definitely do not afraid to slurp, even though I know a lot of people do not like that. But in my tea community, I always encourage people to slurp. Well, that's basically our Fuji Kaori. It is on sale until next week, I believe. Um, it's limited. I believe once this, I think I only have like 3 kilo. So once it's sold out, it's sold out. It's gonna sold out for a while. And again, tea is seasonal, so this particular season is just really, really good. So I might not be able to get it again. So it's kind of a lot of our Japanese tea is kind of like that. We constantly changing them so that there's well, you just kind of have to appreciate whatever the tea that come out during the season. If it's a good quality, you just kind of have to savor it. You can't really store it for a long time, so it pushes you to drink faster, really. and I drink it every morning, so it's not a big deal. But at the same time, once it's gone, a lot of time, even if you can get the same tea again next year, in my experience, they're never really exactly the same. So definitely really kind of appreciate that little tiny cup that you make, especially when you're drinking like tea that you love, not just Sencha in particular, but it's a lot of our premium teas like that. Once you find it, really enjoyed it, and put a very low expectation that next year is gonna be the same, because it won't be the same. Have done that so many times. And again, this is Sencha Fuji Kaori. If you have any question, just drop a comment. I'll answer as much as I can. Other than that, thank you again for watching. Check it out on the website, Fuji Kaori.